Greetings and welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. To our members, friends, and everyone joining us in our virtual congregation on YouTube today.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Robin Landerman Zucker, minister of this congregation, and I will be hosting our virtual recorded worship service today, Sunday, January 3rd, 2021 on YouTube with music from Roomie and Rebecca Prizznick. We're glad you're here and that you've made Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation a part of this day in your spiritual life. Whether you are a regular viewer or you are joining us for the very first time. We're here every week on YouTube and we'll be home at 510 North LaRue Street in Flagstaff as soon as it is safe for us to gather together in person. Our congregation is spiritually open and intentionally inclusive. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are always welcome here, and we will joyfully marry you here too. Our members and friends bring many interests, theologies, and viewpoints to our door. Here we trust you will find a common desire for meaningful community and spiritual growth and for relevant religious exploration in a framework with very flexible borders. Membership in this congregation is open to anyone who chooses to walk with us in the spirit of love, the search for truth, and the pursuit of justice. As I light the chalice, the symbol of our free faith, please light your own chalice or candle at home as we recite the unison words found on your screen. We light this chalice with a flame that draws us together. With this flame, we cut through the darkness of isolation and are warmed by the fires of our inner connection. The mission and covenant of Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation express our values and our vision of ourselves as a gathered community in the world. Please say the mission and covenant with me. You will see the words on your screen. The mission of Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation is to be a welcoming community that embraces diverse thought and belief and builds a just, peaceful, and compassionate world. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in kindness. Thus do we covenant. Our opening words today are written by Margaret Gooding in keeping with our theme and my sermon, which is entitled Choose Something Like a Star, a sermon towards integrity. This reading is called Why Not a Star? They told me that when Jesus was born, a star appeared in the heavens above the place where the young child lay. When I was young, I had no trouble believing wondrous things. I believed in that star. It was a wonderful miracle, part of a long ago story foretelling an uncommon life. They told me a supernova appeared in the heavens in a dying burst of fire. When I was older, I believed in science and reason. I believed the story of the star explained. But I found I was unwilling to give up the star, fitting symbol for the birth of one whose uncommon life has long been remembered. The star explained became the star understood for Jesus, for Buddha, for Zarathustra. Why not a star? Some bright star shines somewhere in the heavens every time a child is born, and who knows what it may foretell. Who knows what uncommon life may yet unfold if we but give it a chance and we believe in that star.
Please join me in singing with heart and mind. With heart and mind and voice and hand, may we this time and place transcend to make that's free to seek the truth, a mind that's free in age and youth, to choose a path no threat impedes, wherever light of conscience leads. Our martyrs died so we could be a church where every mind is free. A heart that's kind, a heart whose search makes love the spirit of our church, where we can grow and each one's gift is sanctified and spirits lift, where every door is open wide for all who choose to step inside.
Now is the time in our service when members and friends are invited to share personal joy or sorrow in the supportive fellowship of this community. We symbolize that by taking a stone and dropping it into water to signify that, like the ripples that are created by a stone in water, what happens to one of us affects all of us in community. So we have certainly a joy to share that one of our members, Carl Taylor, has been named the Male Citizen of the Year for Flagstaff. He has done so much for the city and for this congregation. So we're very proud of you, Carl, and we celebrate with you this honor. We have the joy that some family members who have been stricken with COVID have recovered. We're very grateful for that, knowing also that we have members and friends who have lost family members to COVID. It's been devastating. We're now on the other side of 2020 and hoping that this hopeful year will bring us health and recovery in so many ways that this stone is for us. And of course, for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken because they are either too tender or too private to share, let us remember that everyone is fighting their own private battle. We know not what it is, but because we're human, we know it to be true. So let us be kind, compassionate, flexible, and forgiving with one another. I invite you now to come into some intentional breathing with me. At the tail end of a holiday season, at the new beginning of 2021, to put your feet on the floor, and uncross your arms and put down whatever you're holding, close your eyes and breathe in intentionally 4 beats through your nose slowly and 5 or 6 beats out slowly through your mouth. So let's do that together. Feel how your intentional breath creates spaciousness in your body, starting at the crown of your head and moving down an axis to the soles of your feet that are planted on the ground. See how your breath can create spaciousness as you move down your body. Breathe and allow. It's your portable first aid. You take it everywhere, your breath. So continue to breathe as I share this reading, and then we'll move into our breathing meditation. Keep breathing. Teach Us to Look for You by Austin Fleming. Spirit of life, turn our face to the east to look for your presence. Turn our faces in any and every direction from which you draw near to us. Teach us to look for you in places we would not expect to find you. Teach us to find you in places so well known to us that we now fail to see you there. Help us to see you in every guest we entertain. Let the beauty of the rose, of any bloom, reveal your presence to us. Let every bird who wings across the sky remind us of the freedom that is ours. Let every star in the heavens be a light in the darkness of our lonely nights. Never let us forget that you are love, Spirit of life, and that those who abide in you abide in love. Teach us to look east and north and south and west, that we might find you every place we look, illuminating like a star, including in our own hearts. Blessed be. Let us breathe together.
The Queens Came Late by Norma Farber. The queens came late, but the queens were there, with gifts in their hands and crowns in their hair. They'd come, these three, like the kings from far, following, yes, that guiding star. They'd left their ladies, linens, looms, their children playing in nursery rooms, and told their sitters, "Take charge, for this is a marvelous sight that we must not miss." The queens came late, but not too late, to see the animals small and great, feathered and furred, domestic and wild, gathered to gaze at a mother and child. And rather than frankincense and myrrh and gold for the babe, they brought for her who held him a homespun gown of blue and chicken soup with noodles too. In a lingering, lasting cradle song, the queens came late and stayed not long, for their thoughts already were straining far, past manger and mother and guiding star, and a child aglow as a morning sun, toward home and children and chores undone. So much trouble in the world, so much trouble in the world. Bless my eyes this morning, earthly things are going. Anything can happen. You see men sailing on their ego trips. Blast off on the spaceships. Million miles from reality. No care for you, no care for me. So much trouble in the world. So much trouble in the world. All you gotta do is give a little, take a little, give a little, one more time, yeah. Give a little, take a little, give a little, yeah. So you think you found the solution, but it's just another illusion. So before you check out this tide, don't leave another cornerstone standing there behind. We've got to face the day. Who we come what may. We the street people talking. Yeah, we the people struggling. Now they're sitting on a time bomb. But now I know the time has come. What goes down up is coming on down. Goes around and comes around. So much trouble in the world. So much trouble in the world. So much trouble in the world. So much trouble in the world.
My sermon today is entitled Choose Something Like a Star, a sermon towards integrity. In the Gospel of Matthew, we have a fragment of a tale, not much to go on really, that speaks of three wise men or magi from the east who were commanded by King Herod to follow a star. Each carries a treasure, and together, in the words of Matthew, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. The Magi pay homage to the baby Jesus, and having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they returned to their homeland by another route. Much has been made of the Magi and their journey in song and story and legend and theology. In fact, the Christian feast of Epiphany, honoring these three fellows, takes place on January 6th. And in some parts of the world, it is a much bigger deal than Christmas. The word epiphany itself comes from the Greek word for appearance and manifest. Epiphany celebrates the day when Christ's divinity was revealed to the Gentiles, represented by the Magi. But in everyday parlance, the way we use it, an epiphany denotes a sudden discovery or revelation. Things fall into place and they gain clarity. Bang, we realize something. It's an epiphany. We'll come back to that and some other epiphanies down the road. It's been suspected that the Magi were Persian priests who followed the ethical teachings of the prophet Zoroaster. Others speculate that the Magi were astrologers, expert star readers, which might explain their uncanny ability of these three wise guys to get from Bethlehem to Bethlehem so quickly without getting lost, without a GPS, and without asking for directions. Not that they would, mind you. The star they followed has been called in our hymnody a star of wonder, a star of light, a star that guides us through a perfect night. In other songs, it's a star of truth in which every searching eye divines some partial glimmer of the light. And perhaps most importantly, it is within the shining of this star that we catch a glimpse of who we are, how we are connected to everyone else, and that essential integrity that shimmers like a priceless treasure we carry in us. There's an epiphany. We all have that shimmer to ignite. My sermon today is called Choose Something Like a Star, and it is from this firmament of light and wonder and character that I am encouraging you to choose. As the Rabbi Lawrence Kushner has reminded us so powerfully in his stories, the more we comprehend our mutual interdependence, the more we fathom the implications of our most trivial acts, we find ourselves within the luminous star of sacred responsibility. In other words, when we realize that everything we do matters, that every choice we make has consequences, we see ourselves rightly as stars linked in a constellation of community. We discover what it might mean and what it might take to act with integrity in a milieu where too often doing what's necessary can mean doing only what's safe or what benefits the individual above all else. Haven't we seen that fester and grow in Washington and beyond over the past 4 years? Our egos or our lack of intentionality, like supernovas, can too easily blot out the more subtle star of truth and can lead us astray into black holes of self-interest, greed, corruption, cruelty, and apathy. My colleague, the Reverend Katie Lee Crane, makes a fascinating connection between the significance of the star followed by the Magi and the principles and values we strive to follow as Unitarian Universalists. She notes that some of the Babylonian belief that influenced the Magi's Persian cult followed the supreme god Ahura Mazda, the Lord of life and wisdom. She writes, their god, who was revealed to them through the Zarathustra, taught individual reason and intelligent action. And their faith was based on the basic dualism between good and evil, in which human beings have both the freedom to choose and the responsibility to bear the consequences for those choices. They emphasize the importance of human reason and ethical behavior, and at its center, they believe in good thoughts, good words, good deeds as the basic teachings of their faith. This resonates for Unitarian Universalists. Choice and responsibility, reason and ethical behavior, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. In a word, integrity. I learned recently that Unitarian Universalism is one of the most values coherent denominations in America. Most of us will cite our 7 principles as the guiding stars in our lives, yet that doesn't mean we are behavior coherent. We may believe in justice, equity, and compassion in human relations in principle, but in the harsh light of reality, sometimes our everyday actions can belie those values. It does sound simple enough, doesn't it? Good deeds, reason, responsibility. Surely we want to embody integrity, and we used to insist that our leaders did. Yet, it's not always clear how to find our way from Herod's palace to Bethlehem's manger, even on a cloudless night with the North Star of 7 principles illuminating the path. It's challenging. Questions arise like, is a little bit of lying okay? What kind of lying? What should I tell my kids about winning and cheating? Is flirting with a coworker on Facebook innocent enough? Do I return that extra change that a waitress gave me by accident? Should I give my spare change or even a $10 bill to a homeless man? Should I speak up about that racist or homophobic or anti-Semitic remark I just heard? Do I leave the warmth of my living room to march in a wind-whipped protest downtown? Do I wear a mask or do I flaunt safety guidelines? There is so much temptation to slide by in our values compromised, maybe I do, toxically individualistic society. In his book entitled Integrity, written in 1996, it's worth noting, the scholar Stephen Carter asks if we as a nation have lost our understanding of integrity. He wrote this a long time ago, but it's a question we're asking now. And one can only imagine the question he would be asking as we enter 2021 in America. He notes how popular that word is, integrity, even if people don't exactly agree on its meaning. Carter recalls beginning a university commencement address by telling the audience that he would be talking about integrity. The crowd broke into applause. Applause, writes Carter, just because they had heard the word integrity. That's how starved they were. Interestingly, the word integrity comes from the same Latin root as the word integer or whole number. The word is about wholeness. A person of integrity, like a whole number, is a whole person, somehow undivided and certainly not divided against themselves. The word conveys a sense of completeness and right livelihood. Carter explains that the enterprise of living what he calls an integral life or an integral life is anything but easy, but he lays it out in 3 fairly clear steps. I'd add, though, that enacting these steps and then growing in integrity requires reflection and a real commitment to practice and development, spiritual and personal growth beyond weekly attendance at church, even on YouTube. It's not a rainy day, do-it-yourself project. The first step, explains Carter, is the act of discernment, during which we must deeply consider what is right and what is wrong. This discernment is a lifelong process of integrating one's values and beliefs and principles and responses to the world. Once we've discerned, we're asked in the second step to act on what we believe, even if it is at a personal cost. We must translate our beliefs into courageous action. And lastly, the hardest step, the willingness to openly tie our actions to our principles, to state boldly, I'm doing X because I believe Y, because I am a Unitarian Universalist. In an opinionated, damaged society driven by conformity and conspiracy theories at one end and cringeworthy wokeness at the other, this may not be easy. It will require not only stating what you believe and why, but being open to how other people interpret integrity and principle, even if it's based on an obedience to God you don't believe in, or ideas you might find quirky or even offensive. It will ask you to value engagement over agreement. As Stephen Carter points out, we usually know what is right when we listen to ourselves. The impulse is there. Unless we are mentally ill, the moral center is there. The Buddhists would certainly nod along with this notion. According to classic Zen teachings, integrity isn't a matter of molding ourselves to fit abstract moral ideas of what we should and shouldn't do, but rather of responding to life in a natural and authentic way. Integrity is not out there somewhere beyond ourselves. It is a holistic and spontaneous naturalness, or could be. As Polonius advises his son Laertes in Shakespeare's Hamlet, and this, above all else, to thine own self be true, and then it follows, as day the night, thou canst be false to any man. In some ways, it's like one shimmering epiphany, an intuitive revelation breaking into our consciousness. Yet, when we have become disconnected from our genuine integrity and no longer trust our natural or basic goodness or the wisdom of the heart, we resort to external concepts of righteousness, even the morally empty ones of Trumpism. We get caught up in moral judgments and perpetuate a culture of critique rather than one of curiosity. Interpersonal feuds, wars, human suffering, tribalism, callousness, disconnection. These are the inevitable results. Listen to Gandhi. He said, "Don't listen to friends when the friend, capital F, inside you says, do this." The fabled Magi had a relatively glitch-free journey, but still needed to decide to do this. They did what they were asked to do, and their outing appears to have been a relatively quick excursion, seemingly without foul-ups, distractions, or speed bumps. Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar. They came, they saw, they gifted, they went home. But a far more gripping yarn involves a fourth Magi named Artaban. You've probably never heard of him, a fourth Magi, because he never made it to Bethlehem, and oh, he's not real either. He follows another star, and his fictional tale is told in a wonderful little book entitled The Other Wise Man that was written in 1895 by a Mr. Henry Van Dyke. Artaban the median doesn't listen to his three better-known colleagues. He heeds the friend within who says, do this. He is integrity personified. His original journey to find the baby Jesus and give him a sack of precious stones is delayed and misdirected and sabotaged by his own acts of humanity, kindness, and love. He gives one of his jewels to help a beaten man recover his health. He relinquishes another one to spare innocent children from being slaughtered. He sacrifices others to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and visit prisoners. He arrives finally in Jerusalem 33 years later at the time of Christ's crucifixion and offers his only remaining jewel to buy the freedom of a slave girl. At last, he meets Jesus on the road, and Artaban protests that he no longer has a gift for him. Instead of chiding him, Jesus thanks him for the many precious gifts of doing what was necessary, regardless of the cost. The good we do is immortal, Jesus tells him. Of course, Artaban knew that all along. As he sets out on his pilgrimage 33 years earlier, he explains to his son that it is better to follow even the shadow of the best than to remain content with the worst. And those who would see wonderful things must often be ready to travel alone. Integrity personified, walking nobly, just like Jesus in a lonesome valley. You may or may not recall a major motion picture released in 2001, 20 years ago, entitled fittingly enough, Three Kings. If I were writing one of those quotable blurbs for a newspaper ad, I'd say something like, boffo action pic that packs a wallop of a message. In the film, three cocky Gulf War soldiers discover a bunker filled with gold, and they devise a plan to steal it. They sarcastically explain this greedy scheme as just doing what's necessary. Through a sequence of unexpected events, these three kings come to discover their need to not only depend on their intended victims, but in the end, to view the whole concept of doing what's necessary through a less self-centered, utterly different, more Gandhi-esque lens. Like Artaban, who can't help but live in relationship to others, who diverts his journey to Bethlehem time and time again to do what's necessary, and who gives away his treasure in the process. These three cynical soldiers in the movie experience an epiphany of interconnectedness to humankind and to their own essential integrity. This transforms them from cads to heroes. Their collective act of generosity at the end of the film is truly inspiring. Luckily, because discernment is a lifelong process, we, like the characters in the film, often get a second or a third chance to do what's right, to act with integrity. But then again, one shining opportunity is sometimes all we get. We each carry within us the freedom to choose and the responsibility to bear the consequences for those choices. We each carry within us the natural impulse for integrity and wholeness. The minister, Howard Thurman, calls the moment when we decide to enact our integrity the moment of high resolve. And he acknowledges the challenge of keeping it radiant and clear before us. He writes, "In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading mysterious presence, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moment of my high resolve, that in fair weather or foul, in good times or in tempests, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless or familiar, I may find that star and not forget that to which my life is committed." You are going about your business when you stumble on something that has your name on it, or to be more accurate, a task with your name on it finds you. Its execution may require inconvenience, self-sacrifice, self-reflection, and even risk. You step forward and encounter your destiny, or you hold back. You can step inside the moment of your high resolve, directly into the starshine of integrity within you. It is a human story, our story, this lifelong journey from Bethlehem or Jerusalem or the reclaimed temple of our own wise hearts. Now is the time to reestablish a beachhead for integrity in America and the world. In this hopeful new year, this one to come, in good times or tempests, choose something like a star. Follow something like a star. Be something like a star. Whole and radiant and linked to other stars within the shimmering and glorious constellation of community. Be the gift. First we give, then we come to love. Do this. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen.
Please join me in singing "We Three Kings of Orient Are." We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. O star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh, prayer and praising all are raising, worship the God most high. O star of wonder, star of light, star of royal beauties bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Myrrh is Gold I bring to crown him again. Love forever ceasing, never in our hearts to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star of royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night.
The spirit of generosity and gratitude flows through Beacon. Each week, whether we are here on North LaRue Street or we are here on YouTube, we take an offering to support Beacon and our programs. There are two ways for you to donate. You can go to our website, beaconuu.com, find the donate button, and make a secure online donation through the Vanco application. Or you can send a check to 510 North LaRue Street, Flagstaff, Arizona, 86001. If you donate online, we ask that you use a bank account rather than a credit card. That will save us some fees and there will be more for Beacon. Either way, we so appreciate your generosity to Beacon during this challenging time. And finally, our ritual at the end of our service is to come together in a circle and hold hands and feel the power and love and strength of our community. We're continuing to do that, imagining ourselves here, holding hands, tangibly feeling that. So I hope you can feel that, feel the power and feel the strength. Because whether we are together or apart physically, we are Beacon, always connected. I have some words of benediction for us. They are where the title of my sermon came from, a poem by W.H. Auden. He wrote, "To discover how to be truthful now is the reason I follow the star. We anticipate or remember, but never are. To discover how to be living now is the reason I follow the star. We have only the vaguest idea why we are what we are. To discover how to be human now is the reason to follow the star." May it be so. Stay safe and well. Blessed be, blessed we. Happy New Year and amen.